Okay, so we're gonna start. My name is Cherrlye. I'm the owner of CORE, which is Coordinators of Real Estate, and that's the in-house transaction coordinating company. So if we could just go around, say a name, maybe like one detail about yourself, so I get to know you guys.
My name is Scarlett.
Hi, Scarlett. You have one thing you want to share?
Just a new agent.
New agent. Okay.
My name's Matt. New agent. I started January.
January. Oh, welcome.
Hi, my name is Iris. I also started January. My hobby is eating food.
Oh, that's my hobby too.
Hi, I'm Amber. I'm also a new agent.
Okay, welcome.
Hi.
All at the same time. Okay, I am a new agent also. I like long walks on the beach. I'm a Gemini, and I'm just kidding. I really am Gemini.
Hey everyone, I'm Gary. I've been with Dublin for about a month now, so hopefully I'll get my first escrow soon.
Hi everyone, I'm Jeremy. I've been with you since October.
Welcome. Okay.
Hi, I'm Trisha. I'm the executive admin.
My name's Dean. I just started as well.
Oh, hi, I'm Jessica, and I'm pretty much new.
I'm Bob Moon, and I'm a new agent as well. Been with KW in Washington and here for about a month.
Hi, my name is Alicia. I'm with KW for 3-something years. I still have to learn something. Yeah. And I'm Bo also too. Yeah. Also, my family have a construction company. If you guys need anything quickly to fix up or something to sell it, we get the cheaper price and quickly. And you can do it. Okay.
Good to know.
Hi, I'm Joriel. I've been licensed for over 4 years now, and I just moved to Keller Williams in November.
Welcome.
I'm Sasha. I've been in the business for 3 years, and I need to learn how to open it. I always have a TM and Cherrlye.
Well, welcome. So we have a mix here. So the basic escrow opening process is pretty much the same across the border, but here at Keller Williams, we have some things that are different for our brokerage. So today we're just gonna go an overview of the basic process. If I go too fast, you can let me know. If you have any questions, just let me know as well. Okay, so first I wanna make a disclosure. I am not a real estate broker. I am a transaction coordinator. I make sure that your contracts and your transaction is compliant and that it's complete. If you need any help with dissecting the contract, how to interpret the contract, how to negotiate, I would refer you back to your broker because they're very experienced, and that is not my scope of work. Okay, so opening escrow. When you open escrow, you get a fully executed purchase contract. You want to make sure it's compliant and complete. You want to make sure you have all of the signatures and initials and dates. You want to create a packet or store all your documents somewhere. So you can use Google Drive. I use Google Drive. If you didn't know, Keller Williams, if you have a Keller Williams email, there is Google Drive on it, and because you're with Keller Williams, it's unlimited. Did any of you know about that unlimited storage? Do any of you not know what Google Drive is? So you all know. Okay, so you can use the Drive, which is unlimited, or there's also a Dropbox. You can use, we have SkySlope where we store our documents. However, if something were to happen, let's say you had to leave or something happens, you don't get to take those docs with you if it's in the SkySlope, or you need to take it out individually. That's why I say to always have a backup somewhere else. Create escrow instructions. So we have a new escrow instructions. It's just been made active yesterday. So our new escrow instructions now requires you to have a checklist with it. So before we didn't have a checklist. And the problem was that people would open escrow and turn in all these papers, and then when they're closing, it wasn't complete or it didn't have all the things on the checklist. So that's why there's a checklist now attached to the escrow instructions. Send escrow instructions for signature, send it to the escrow company and internally to our MCA. Open escrow, create a timeline, send emails, create a green sheet, SkySlope, and buyer seller duties. We'll go over that. So I will go over very briefly the green sheet and the SkySlope account. We do have green sheet classes here that our MCA teaches, where she'll go more into depth and more into detail about the green sheet. And we also do hold SkySlope classes too, where they go more into depth. So I'll just cover it very briefly in the basics. Okay, so the first thing you do when you get an accepted contract is check for compliance. So you want to make sure you have all the initials, all the signatures. You want to make sure that everything in C1 is attached to it. You want to make sure you have both ABAs, that everything is complete. So let's look at what a contract would look like.
Cherrlye, what's C1?
Let me show you. So C1 is where it will show you what kind of addenda is attached to your purchase contract. So we'd have like a Keller-Williams standard addenda, the as-is addenda, things like that. Do any of you have questions? Okay, so this is what the purchase contract looks like. This is not fully executed, it's just a copy. So you wanna, it's 14 pages. You wanna make sure you have the buyer and seller initial, all pages. Remember page 1, they ask for 2 initials. So a lot of times people miss 2 initials. C1. So the way the contract is broken down, it's in alphabetical order. So C1 right here talks about all the addenda. So if you have as is in there marked off and you have a VA financing marked off, you want to make sure that it is part of your contract too. Do any of you have questions about that?
I have a question.
Yes.
So for the addendums, I know that we have to attach like the first 21 and second addendum. So do those 3 get attached for both when you're representing the buyer and the seller?
That's a good question. So at Keller-Williams, we have a Keller-Williams standard addendum. And you met Debbie here. We have an affiliate business disclosure with Hawaii Capital, and we have affiliate business disclosure with Hawaii, First Hawaii as title and escrow. So there's 3. The Keller-Williams addenda, you want to attach it to all of your contracts because it is part of, our standard addendum. The ABAs, the 2 ABAs that disclose about our affiliate business partnership, that is for your client to sign. So whether we use them or not, your client has to sign it. So let me show you what it looks like so you can be familiar with it. However, so this is the First Hawaii affiliate business disclosure. It's kind of, it could be confusing because there is buyer and seller signature. So it's whatever party you represent. And then this is the Hawaii Capital one. So whether we use them or not, your client has to sign these two forms. It's part of our compliance because by law, we have to disclose that we have a business relationship with them. So we have to disclose it. Yes.
So what if there's a different lender that's being used?
Even though there's a different lender being used, you still have to disclose it to your client.
About Hawaii Capital?
Yes. If there's a different escrow being used, you still have to disclose it to your client. However, if in your transaction you use Hawaii Capital, the other side must also sign. Does that make sense? Or if you do use First Hawaii Title, the other side has to also sign. Is there any questions about that? Did that answer your question?
Yes, so just to confirm, if I'm representing the buyer, only they have to sign, I don't have to send this to the seller when I
Correct.
submit my contract.
Yes. Only if, let's say, yeah, you're using them. Then the other side will need to sign. Yeah. So as you know, it's about disclosure. We have to disclose to our clients who we're affiliated with by law, and if you're using them in your transaction, you must disclose to the other side as well. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, so we talked about the ABAs, page 13 and 14. Oh, co-op. So the co-op, which is the cooperating brokerage agreement, it's not part of your contract either. However, both brokers need to sign. Do any of you have questions about that one? Okay. Lead-based paint, as you know, any homes built on or before 1978, we must have the lead-based addendum part of it, and that's about it for compliance. Okay, so escrow instructions. So we have a new escrow instructions, which is in your handout. So it used to be only one page. It used to be only one page, and now we have it. Actually, no, it used to be 2 pages, but it didn't have all of this checklist here. So now we have a checklist. So this was made in effect yesterday. So now whenever you open escrow, you have to use this one. So where you can find this is on our KW intranet. So any forms or all forms are is in zip forms. That has to do with opening at anything that has to do with your contract. But if it has to do with contingencies, or like your J1, which is home inspection, your final walkthrough, escrow instructions, that would be in your KW intranet. Okay. So KW intranet is when you log in to KW, there's this little My KW intranet right here. You go to there. And then it'll take you to this place. It'll have a forum where you can post things. You can post about your open house. You can post about your new listing. If you need a sitter for your open house, or if you're looking to sit at an open house, you can find it here too. So you would go to Market Center and Documents. Oh, is it your birthday tomorrow, Carrie?
Yes, it is.
Oh, over here too, you can see all the birthdays coming up. Okay, so here we have folders of all our documents. If you go to Office Forms, Fillable Office Forms, we have all of these here. So this is where you can find another place you could find the ABAs, an extension, escrow deposit, all of that. So where is checklist? Okay, so escrow checklist is right here. And this is new, this was updated yesterday. And this is where you find the escrow instructions. So it's easy. You just fill it out. And you want to make sure that you have all of these documents. So, sorry, this is kind of new, so just bear with me. So I have Adobe Pro Acrobat, and what I did is I just combined everything into one file and sent it to the broker to sign. If you have Adobe Acrobat, you can do that, or if you don't have that, you would copy and scan all of your documents into one file. So one compressed file, and then send it over to the broker, and then attach all of the things here. Okay. Do you guys have any questions on this? This is like new. This just came out yesterday. No?
So I have a question. If I'm a buyer's agent, so when the seller suggests we using designated escrow officer, does it apply to this?
Yes, so the way you would fill out your escrow instructions is from your purchase contract. So it's whatever, so her question was, if she has a buyer and the seller wants a certain escrow company, do you put it on here? So it depends on your contract. So if you guys if both parties signs off that they're gonna use that escrow company, then yes. So based on your contract, you would fill this out. So it has like the property address, the reference date, initial deposit, additional deposit, who the escrow company is, and then if whoever you're representing, the buyer or seller, you put it all. Financing information, sales price, all of that. So all of that is in the contract. Special instructions in the back, conveyance docs. So that's for the deed. So we are partnered, or not partnered, but we use Doc Prep as a default. And then we also just added Cherrlye. If you have a legal person that you prefer to use, then you can put that as other. And that's for the deed, for when you guys close. Okay? So if you're a listing agent, you have to put all of the listing documents in here. If you're not a listing agent and you're just on the buyer side, you can X that listing side out and just put purchase documents. But whether you're listing or not, you still have to put purchase documents. Okay? Do any of you have questions about that? No? Okay. Okay, so once you get this signed by your broker, you're going to send this over to escrow. So when you open escrow, you're going to send this escrow instructions with your purchase contract over to escrow. And then you can say, please open escrow, and then they'll open on their side. And you also need to send this to our MCA. Does anyone not know who our MCA is? So our MCA is Christy, and she is right here. She monitors the closings and everything, and she does all our accounting. So she needs to see what's coming in and what to expect. So MCA, if you look at the opening checklist, her email is right here. KWLR 946. The 946 is our market center number. Okay. So to fill out your escrow instructions, refer to your purchase contract, have your broker sign this, and also now we have to attach all of your documents to it. Send it to escrow with your contract to open escrow, and send internally to our MCA. Any questions about that? That's escrow instructions. Okay, so create a file or keep track of your docs. So like I mentioned, I use Google Drive because it's unlimited and it's, you know, it's free for you guys, or it's part of your dues that you pay anyway. There's Dropbox, there's Dotloop, or you can just save it onto your desktop or a, what do you call this thing? A USB drive, or you can print it out. However you store your documents. I would suggest to have your documents somewhere. Okay, then create a timeline. So whenever you create a timeline, the first thing you have to look for is an acceptance date and a closing date. The acceptance date is on page 14 of your purchase contract or page 2 of the counter offer. So let me show you where to see that. So if you go all the way to page 14 of your purchase contract, this date right here is where your acceptance date is. If you go to a counter, it's not even in here. Your acceptance date is right here on page 2. Okay, so you need the acceptance date to create your timeline for your contingencies. So your timeline, we do have one in the intranet as well, and then also you can ask Escrow for a timeline, or if you have a TM or TC, they create the timeline for you as well. So based on however your contract is made, that's how your timeline will go. So let me show you where to find the timeline. So back here in the intranet, you have escrow timeline. And then basically what you do is you put the acceptance date, the closing date, and then you go through your contract and put in the dates there. So let's say the acceptance date was November 11th. And the closing date was 45 days after acceptance. You would put in all of these things here that says towards your contract. Okay? And then you can sort it however, by the date, the due date, or all that. Okay? Do any of you guys have questions about timeline? So in our compliance, it is required for you to have a timeline. The reason is because we need to show proof that we are using a timeline and that we are using something to track our contingencies and purchase contracts. That's why we need a timeline in our compliance. So you need that. Okay? So what I do is I send a timeline to all the parties, and that's how you cover your butt. Because if it's not in writing, it doesn't exist. So you want to send it to the co-op agent, you want to send it to the client, and just make sure that you guys are all on the same page with the contingency dates. Okay?
So we're gonna send, sorry, can you send to all parties?
All parties, so that's the co-op agent and your client.
Okay.
Because sometimes there could be discrepancies. For example, I had a contract the agent sent it to me with the acceptance date of, I don't know, the 1st. But it was sent to him the 30th. But because DocuSign is 2 hours ahead, the acceptance date was actually the 30th, but on the contract it said the 1st, so we had to, change it. So that's why it's best to cover your butt and to send it out to the co-op agent. Do you have any questions for that? No? So after you create the timeline, you can send out an email with the timeline, and that is to create the expectation and also to cover your butt, like how I mentioned. Also, don't forget to send your purchase contract to the lender. Okay, now we're going to open SkySlope. So now we opened Escrow with Escrow. We created the escrow instructions. We did the timeline. Now we're going to open SkySlope. So SkySlope is what we use at Keller Williams for our compliance. So to get paid, you need to upload everything into SkySlope, send it to our compliance officer, and once he gives the okay, then you can get your check. That's how you get paid. So let me show you how to open SkySlope. I'll go over it very briefly. So if you have, you want to remember this because I made this mistake before. If it's a listing and you're on the listing side, you have to go to manage listing. If you're on the buyer side, you have to go to manage transactions. And one time I was on the buyer side and I just went to manage transactions and it didn't give me the listing checklist. So I had to restart all over again. So let's just open a listing. You'd go to manage listings. You'd go to create listing. And then you would just fill in the information. So you put your name. You put the property address. You put which office you're under. So most of you should be from Honolulu. Go to next. Listing documents. And then the sales price. Let's say it's 500,000. Okay, the listing commission, it's 2.5. And the listing date. So it's easy. It's very straightforward. And most of the time it's a personal referral. Okay, so once you create your listing, you're gonna go, it's gonna show you a checklist. And then that's where you upload all of your documents. Okay. Does anyone have any questions with SkySlope or how to do SkySlope? No? Okay.
I have a question. So you said if it's your listing, then you click the manage listing.
Yes.
Yeah, and then if you're working with a buyer, then you click the transaction.
Yes. So you click manage listing if you're listing or manage buyer. Because if you just put manage listing and you're on the lister side, it won't give you the listing checklist. And then our compliance officer, Rob, is going to push it back to you, and then he's going to ask for the listing documents. Or if you're putting a listing and you're actually a buyer, you can't go on to the listing documents, the purchase documents, until your listing is complete. Okay, so the first thing you do if you're representing a buyer is coordinate the initial deposit. So you can drop it off to escrow, have your buyer drop it off to escrow. You can, if your buyer isn't here, then you would ask for escrow wiring instructions, or you can drop it off to our front desk and then ask escrow to have a courier. One time I also had escrow pick it up at the buyer's house. So depending on who your escrow company is, sometimes they can coordinate those things or sometimes they can't. And then the other next thing you want to do is schedule your home inspection. And that's your J1. That's your, you want to schedule that as soon as you can, just in case anything comes up in the J1 or the inspection. You want to make sure that it's negotiated and it's been settled before your J1 expires. You guys have any questions about that? Okay, so if you're representing the seller, the first thing you have to do is change the MLS status. After your contract gets accepted, you have 4 days to change the status. After 4 days, you can get fined by the board. The next thing you want to do is order your condo docs if you have an association or working with a condo. Make sure you order the condo docs because they can take up to 10 business days. And then also, do you have your SRPDS? You want to make sure that your seller signed and completed the seller's disclosure form. Okay. You guys have any questions right now? Yes.
Sorry, you said 4 days after
your accepted contract.
you accepted contract.
Mm-hmm. So if you have an accepted contract on the 1st and you didn't change your MLS status until the 5th, it's gonna ring MLS and let them know, and then they can potentially fine you. So I think the first time they'll give you a warning, and then after that they'll fine you. I think it can go like $200, $300. Okay, and then you also want to create a green sheet. So a green sheet is, it takes information and it sends it to our MCA, Christy, and then Christy, with that information, she'll create your disbursement agreement, which is your DA. Then with your DA, you send over to escrow. Maybe I get that? So let me show you what a green sheet looks like. So you're gonna have to go back to KW, you go to technology, go to green sheet, you click here for a new green sheet. Okay, and you must always put no. Whether you're a listing agent or not, buyer's agent, you must put no. And is this a KW listing? Even if it is, still put no. Because if you put yes, it's gonna redirect you to another page, and it's not necessary to do all that stuff. Okay, so again, you can use your escrow instructions and all the information you got from your PC onto here. So I'll just go over this very briefly because Christy, she teaches the green sheet class, so she talks about like royalties and splits and all that. I'll just go over it briefly. You have to fill out everything that's in pink with the asterisk. Okay, over here too, and then you have to go all the way down. Okay, then there's agent detail. It's gonna ask you if you wanna donate to KW, KW Cares, or Bold. And then here is your deduction. So let's say something happened in your transaction and you had to give you wanted to buy your buyer a home inspection or something, or you wanted to give them a credit of $500, this is where you would put it. Or if you have a transaction manager, this is where you'd also put it. So you would just put, let's say you used core. You would put core and the amount. Yes.
Is that a tax deduct, like, is that tax deductible?
Yes.
What is core?
Coordinators of real estate. So if you have like a transaction manager, this is where you would put the fees in. Or if you have any credits going to your client, this is where you would put it into.
So I should put credit, right?
Do you have a credit right now you're going to give to the client from your commissions?
No, I'm just asking if I would like to give credit to the buyer, so I need to put credit, right?
Right. So if you have a credit to your buyer, this is where you would put it.
And you would write credit instead of core.
Yes. Whenever you're giving a credit from your commissions, you would have to put it here, and also get a commission credit form signed by you and your broker. That's also in the intranet. Okay? And then, once you're finished with all of that, you'll submit it to the MCA. And the MCA will send back in about 48 hours at the most. She'll give you back a DA based on all the information you gave her. And then you need to go over the DA, make sure it's correct, and then send the DA to Escrow. A DA is a disbursement agreement.
Is there a glossary where we can remember what all these are? No?
No.
Just remember? Okay.
Okay, sorry. Sometimes if I go too fast, just let me know if you have
There's
any
a lot
questions.
of colorisms, you know?
Yeah, so the thing about color is they're all about culture, and they have a lot of colorisms. So like DA is what? Green sheet. I don't think any other brokerage does green sheets. Things like that. Red Day. Oh, we have Red Day coming up, everyone, by the way. It's Red Day. So Red Day is when, off of this subject. Red Day is when all Keller Williams across the whole world takes a day off to help with their community. So what we've been doing the past few years is like cleaning up a beach, or I know some people do some other brokerages do other stuff, but it's something that has to give back to the community. So that's what we're doing.
The plans are really fun.
Yeah. Also, Sasha is the culture committee person. I was on the culture committee the past 2 years, but I don't have time for it. But I love Red Day. I love Red Day because I like what it stands for.
When is Red Day?
It's the second Thursday of May, correct? So it's the 9th. I think it's the 9th or the 8th. So last year we had a beach cleanup at Habush, and then we had a potluck. We asked other like escrow companies, lenders to come join us. People bring their kids, people bring their families, they bring a tent, and then we all just hang out and have a picnic after. The year before that, we went to Magic Island. It's a very fun event, and it gives back to the community, and it helps the community. So if you are not busy that day, I would really suggest you come out because it really shows our culture, our KW culture. All right, so back to this. Okay, so the DA, so if you went to other brokerages, if you think of another brokerage, usually what they do is the brokerage would get a big check from Escrow, and then the brokerage themselves would cut it down and then send it to you. And that's why usually at other brokerage, you get paid like a couple of days after or a week after, however they do their system. But Keller Williams, we don't get the big check. We have Escrow cut down the commissions. So that's why you need a DA, which is the disbursement agreement. Okay, does everyone understand that? If you have any questions? Okay, so make sure you do your green sheet at least 2 weeks prior at the latest. I just do it in the beginning so I can just get it out of the way. And then they'll make the DA, and then if there's any changes like to the sales price, if there's any credits, then I'll just email Christy or Leah like, oh, we did this, can you please change this, and then they can revise it. So they are the only people who can revise the DA, Christy and her assistant Leah. Okay, so tips to remember. If it's not in writing, it doesn't exist. So make sure you always cover your butt. Make sure you have everything in writing. Also, CC all parties to ensure everyone is on the same page. Sometimes the other agent will have their TC, or they have an assistant, or the escrow has an assistant, or the lender has an assistant. Make sure to CC everyone. Just so everyone's on the same page. It just makes things and communication much easier. Okay. Do any of you guys have questions? No? So do you guys know how to open escrow now? Okay, so I do TM. I'll basically do all of this that you guys just did. It's part of the service. However, you are the agent. This is your transaction. You're in control. So I'm just here to help coordinate with paperwork and to help your life be easier and to leverage your time so you're not doing all of this stuff and you are out there lead generating. But it's good to know. It's good to know what happened. It's good to know where to find certain things and how to do things. Because if you don't want to be out leveraged too much, then you don't know what's going on. Okay. So does anyone else have any questions? No? Okay, well, thank you. Thank you.